Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 12 of the Hobby Hotline. I'm your pal Val from NASCAR Radio. We have Drew from Let Me Get That Polygraph.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day.
And Steph is right there from Junk Wax Twins on Twitter.
There you go.
And about the cards.
And about the cards.
Yeah, so what's going on, everybody?
Hey everybody. Yeah. It's been a while since I've been on. How's everybody?
I know, Val. How you been? It's been quite a while. You glad to be back on the show?
I'm super excited to be on with you guys.
Awesome.
It's always fun to talk about cards and the hobby and everything else. I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse.
I hear you there. Well,
how about you, Drew?
What's up? Doing good. What's up, Theoden? What's up, Johnny? What's going on, everybody? Getting this shared right now to a couple of other platforms so some more people can be joining us. But
yeah, everybody, come on.
Yeah, let's hop on in.
Both come in and call in.
Yes.
Yeah. And absolutely, guys, as always, we are the Hobby's only call-in show. This show is all about one thing, and that is you guys. So as I'm putting in the link right now, if you would like to call in, have any questions about the hobby, any comments, anything whatsoever. If you just got a question for us, even if you just want to say something, who cares? Call on, join the show, come hang out. That's what we do this show for. But what's up, Doug, 3B, Turkey Cards, Mike Sommer. I've heard that name before.
Mike Sommer, yep.
That Mike Sommer guy, I've heard of him.
So I know I'm a NASCAR guy, but I heard this thing about that's going on the last couple of days. I think some kind of draft.
WNBA.
Don't remind me of the draft.
I know I'm a Panthers fan too, Drew.
Oh, don't even start. What's up, Chris? What's going on, dude? How's it going? All right, guys. So once again, this is episode 12, and as John Newman's not here to give him the proper introduction before we get into all of our vast array of topics today, we do have a caller, and I'm going to play the part of Mr. Newman of Sports Card Nation. It wouldn't be a show without the O. Welcome, O. How's it going, my man?
Hey, O.
It's going great.
Howdy.
Good to see you, man. Hope you had a good week. What's going on? What can we do for you today, my man?
So, I wanted to know, how was your experience with, if you even attempted to get Bowman First Edition?
Oh, goodness. That's a great topic I didn't have on my paper. Hold on. I got a lot to talk about here.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you, O, for giving us a little bit of more content to talk about today.
Did you see the GIF I put with the dog trying to get the dog bone in the bowl of water?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. That's the way I felt.
Well, before we get into all of our stuff, how was your experience?
Yes.
It was pretty good. Day one on Wednesday was pretty rough. Tuesday got 2 packs.
Hey.
Wednesday got 3 packs. So got
Nice.
4 or 5.
Right. Way to go.
Nice.
Good job, dude. For some reason, Panini must love your IP address. That's all I can say.
Tops, right?
But,
You mean
Tops.
top?
yeah, Tops,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, you must
Okay.
be right next to
Other
the backbone or internet backbone or something.
For
Good
real.
job.
But wow, Joe, congrats on getting those 5-0. But guys, this experience, what do you guys? First of all, let's talk about it a little bit more. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but how was your guys' experience, and what do you think of the way they rolled this out, and this whole Bowman First Edition in general?
So I like that they brought back the first edition, because this was the thing that they had in 2004 or 5, 2003, 4.
Yeah.
There were 2 consecutive years there.
2 years.
At least for baseball. I like the idea. The rollout is really kind of handled poorly. And unfortunately, it's the thing that we see often when the manufacturers say, hey, here's something super limited that you can order if you hop online, if you can get online. It shouldn't be a thing. Invest in some internet infrastructure is the word I was looking for. And, make it available to everyone, not just the first 25 that are able to get through the first 100 or...
Well, see, this is This is my biggest issue with it is these companies know by now what's going on. They know bots are handling it, which they do their best to try and handle by saying there's a limit, but that doesn't matter. I know multiple companies, one major card company who literally on these release days has his entire staff sit at a computer to order as much as they can. You guys know who I'm talking about, probably.
I know,
great guy. But I mean, that stuff happens, and that's where a lot of this stuff goes, and you'll start to see them for resale a lot. But
it made me think of the chocolate, Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory, where they had all his employees shelling peanuts, and then moved them over to Wonka bars.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But see, the problem I have with it is, it's going to happen. Everyone's going to have issues. Yet, like you just said, man, they don't invest in any type of infrastructure to handle these systems. If you don't have a way to properly do this to where, and I'm not going to use the line, so true collectors can get all that stuff, whatever. It's a business. Obviously, this is a hobby and a business. Okay. You get them, you don't, you miss out. Just like if you're going to Hot Wheels, if I'm going to Walmart to get the latest Hot Wheels, my son wants and it's gone. It's the same type of crap, but hire somebody, use a third-party website, do whatever you have to do to ensure that these go smoothly. Day one, I think the website probably crashed. It hated me day one. Day two was an absolute disaster. Day three, I didn't even try. I had someone else try for me. And of course, I ended up getting a couple. But it's just one of those things where you're going to promote something so big and in time right now, which we'll be talking about all day, where so little waxes out. This to me seems like the one time that you would want to make sure that anyone and everyone who wanted a chance to get these could get them, because so many people are fiending for new stuff. And yet here we are having the same million issues we always have with all this stuff. And this glorified first off the line product is now, it became a massive hassle. And, it's one that, to be quite honest, I expected.
Sure. And I mean, it's unfortunate. I know that, the entire time they went live, the majority of people were complaining that they were getting 503 errors left and right. Absolutely. Which I mean, if you look it up, it's essentially just saying that service is unavailable. The service is unavailable, and it's usually what happens is when you have 50,000 people trying to get on, you're going to only be able to access a certain amount that try to get through, and it's unfortunate that it happens. But
yeah, Mike had a good point where he said it was good that they moved it over 3 days, but being in IT, I don't understand why they're not running cloud computing where they can span the number of their servers out and then contract them, so you only pay when you expand. So during these releases you need to expand, and then when you're running everyday stuff you can contract. So it's just either they don't care, they don't want to spend the money, or their IT department's outsourced. I don't know.
You were close on the answer. The answer is they get their money regardless.
Yep.
That's true, right? They don't care about the customer, or the customers, their experience. Is exactly. They're going to sell out no matter what and make it painful. They don't care.
No, they don't. Sorry, I'm trying to put the link here in the chat for you guys if you would like to call in. Let us know how you guys feel about your experience on this. I want to hear some people's experiences on this, and also if you guys have a way that maybe they can make it better. I know a lot of employees of all three companies do watch this show. I've talked to them, so give them some advice, because this is something that I was surprised to see Topps do again. The first editions did not do well the couple years they did them early. If you look at resale values of, Kershaw's, I think, was one that was involved in the first edition. His non-first editions sell for way more. So, I think that a lot of people need to be concerned about the resale value on these as well, as people think they're going to soar through the roof. I just don't see it happening, maybe for a while, because, there's nothing that's going to be coming out here in the near future, which is kind of a perfect segue that I wanted to get to here. And Mr. Junkblack's twins made it apparent earlier today that, guys, we got this week. A couple other things hit the shelves. Couple other online releases are out, but we're ending pretty much the new releases. The new releases now are pretty much all wrapped up.
Yep. I mean, with the printing process is not able to catch up, I think the only real thing that they can do based on where their printing facilities are just the on-demand stuff. And it's unfortunate that with everything going on, that's the way it is. But I would rather have that than, having to have my 2-3 packs. There's enough on the shelves. I mean, at least at my Walmarts and my Targets and my hobby stores. And I think that's maybe why Bowman everyone's trying to get it, just because there is nothing new.
And you got those prospector, let's be honest, in the baseball market, prospecting is probably bigger than just general collecting, I would have to say nowadays. And I know these prospectors are itching at the bone for anything, even the ugly Bowman design that they have this year. So, I think they're just dying for anything. But quick side note, Chris Coe, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. He's the owner of that beautiful, flawless Kyler Murray 1/1 RPA. But he has a question. And in today's climate, what's our view on autograph card values for Hall of Famers and rookies, and on card versus sticker? Like, in this climate, does that change? I guess, does that change your opinion on everything?
So naturally, speaking at least for baseball and hockey, on card is preferred. Just because it looks that much nicer. Stickers, I mean, I get, especially with some of the players that, that are on the regular circuit. It's a little bit harder for them to come sit at Tops. Like a George Brett or, true Hall of Famers. Now I can understand, having them sit down once, sign a bunch, and hey, here they are throughout the year. I always thought it was kind of curious, like for Elite Extra Edition. Okay, so you got the first tier where the guys sign like 674 and the next tier's 100. How do they break down, here's 674? Why not like 600 of these, 200 of this, 100 of this, 50, 25, and then you got roughly 1,000 signed.
Yep. Yeah, what's up, Val?
I was going to say, like in NASCAR, we prefer the on card, but we settle for like Donruss, which is stickers. And then what's interesting is some of the drivers, when they sign on card, they have a little certification sticker that they put over part of the autograph.
Earnhardt and them do those on every single auto he has.
Yeah, some of them. Jeff Gordon started it.
Okay, well, I got it.
Good.
Well, I got a question for you guys then, and it kind of follows with Co's question here. Okay, so we've got that. We've got, obviously everyone would prefer on card as opposed to sticker. I mean, who wouldn't? You would want the autograph on card if you could. But in this current climate, should we? I mean, let's be honest. Topps is done producing cards for a while. Panini's done producing Topps for a while. There's very, very few stuff coming out. Autographs in particular are going to be absolutely almost impossible to get. If the rookie premiere is canceled, Panini's got, there goes where they get their autographs for the first half of their products. So should we, at least for the collecting year of 2021, should we be predicting, should we start to get used to seeing a lot of sticker autos or no autos in products in general? Because I know they have a backlog of autographs. I know they have a little bit of time at spring training to get some, but when it comes to NBA products, they're not going to have the Panini NBA photo shoot to get those autos. So, should we really start to really lower our expectations for what we can get out of ink this year and expect to see more stickers?
Well, and related, I think that was something that we touched on Wednesday, was that in addition to the stickers, are we going to see more redemptions for, hey, here's the first player in the draft because we have no photo?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to see a generic player's outline with redemption number 1, draft pick 2?
Make a couple of these maybe.
Right. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'd figure that with everyone home, now would be a great time to send out those sheets and have them signed. So that maybe come 2021 or 2020 for basketball and hockey.
Yes. And Chris, real fast, I see what you're saying, that they can get the cards to the draft picks, but I also personally know, I know 4 people that are in this year's draft. Personally know them and talk to them on a regular basis. None of them major first round picks, but 2 of them are in draft picks, and 2 of them are going to have their cards quite a bit. They're not signed. They will not sign anymore until all this is over and it's safe. Their agents and people have advised them not to handle the packages, not to handle that stuff. And that's where we are. And so that's where my concern mainly comes from, is that, yes, you can get them to the people, whether they will sign or not. AJ Brown is a different story, but it is possible, but it's going to make the logistical aspect of it 10 times harder. And if they're not doing it right this second, if those stickers are not in those athletes' hands this month, they will not be in those products in December. Right. These are not written and then thrown on 2 days before release date. This stuff is planned out long in advance, and that's where it kind of concerns me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Nick Gable, what's going on? Nick puts a excellent quote on here, and here is, he says he hopes there are no autographs in general, and he's sick of redemptions. And now that Panini's no longer honoring expired redemptions. And Nick, I'm with you on a lot of those points. And while I do hope there are autographs, because I do like to collect autographs, I do think a byproduct of this could be that we start to see collectors go I always call it the young gun route, where we start to see a lot of products with autographs maybe not being the main focus point of everything. But anyway, guys, we'll move on now. As like we said, a lot of products coming to a halt, and Topps made a pretty big announcement earlier this week. Junk Wax Twins, why don't you take it away and let everybody know what's going on, because this slipped under the radar to a lot of people, and it's quite interesting.
Sure, and this was also something we had on Wednesday. That's with Topps not having their facility in Texas here, or Minneapolis, or wherever it is. They just can't print cards. And unfortunately, it means that anything after such and such date has been cut off and to be determined. Hopefully they can get it up. Phone, I muted you. Why are you still buzzing? Hush, quiet, go away. Thank you. And Panini making a similar update that, after a certain date, they're no longer, their production terms are to be determined. And I'd like to see them not necessarily address it, because there's not much that they can do. Right. I mean, if the states say unless you are an essential service, and unfortunately, card breaking is not an essential service, we're just not going to have your product for a while.
It's too bad they're not in Florida, because come on, if the WWE can get considered an essential business, I'm pretty sure Panini probably and Topps probably could. Maybe they need to move it down to Florida.
So now, do you think that's going to reduce the amount this year, or they're going to produce the same amount of products just in a smaller window?
I think there's no way they produce the same amount of products next year. Absolutely no.
See, with racing, we only have like 4. We were 5, now we're 4, I think, a year. So.
Oh, well, you guys might be okay. But most products, probably not. But one product that did hit the shelves this week, and I believe it looks to be one of, if not the last release by Panini, is the popular, well, I wouldn't even call it popular. It's really weird. For the last couple of years, Panini has been putting out an online exclusive product, another parallel of Prism called Mosaic. Normally, it's just the Prism design with that Mosaic finish over it. Well, this year, talk about not announcing anything to anybody. This was like nothing. There was no information on this until they dropped it. But a lot of people went to stores. It hasn't been in my stores yet, but luckily some people I know were able to get some boxes. But they've turned Mosaic now into its own brand. It's still got that Mosaic finish. It still has the Prism type of look, but it's no longer a complete carbon copy of Prism with Mosaic on it. They've got their own feel to everything. And this stuff has started flying off the shelves. And the resale value on these, just to take a look at how bad people want cards right now, look at the resale value on these. My God, I got some of these and looked at the eBay comps, and mega boxes are going for almost 200. I mean, it's absurdity what these things are going to. And a couple of questions on this for you guys. One, what do you think of Panini turning Mosaic into really its own new product? And two, is it deservedly so of these big bumps and everything that we see and that we're seeing right now?
So Panini in particular, they did a product for baseball that his name escapes me, but essentially like cards 1 through 30 were from this product that they previously released, 31 through Chronicles.
Chronicles, yeah.
I knew it started with a C. I just couldn't place it. Score, Triple Play, they did a series of them, and they were all different. And to me, it just kind of seemed like they were trying to see what stuck and what people wanted most, and depending on player, obviously. But it just seemed like, hey, here's everything that we had. And I think in basketball, they had a similar where Mosaic was featured or the previews were featured on the back. And some decent looking cards have come out of the product.
Yes.
And as you attested, they seem to be reselling well.
Dude,
I just find it interesting.
The cards are beautiful.
Some of the features that they have, yeah.
Yeah, the cards are stunning. The cards are absolutely stunning.
The 2019-20 the
Mosaic.
basketball, right?
Yes, man.
Yeah,
now,
they look incredible.
They look great, and I think it's a great idea for them, and I thought it was a perfect way to do it because let's be honest. Go on eBay, go look at the comps. The Mosaic version of Prism did not catch on like Prism Choice. It didn't catch on like all these other ones, the Asian exclusives. It never really caught on. And so I think they had to do something, but I think they were on to something with the Mosaic idea. And if you ask me, I think they knocked this product out of the park. I mean, for a retail, it looks to be a retail exclusive, possibly even only a Walmart exclusive. For something like this, I mean, I was blown away.
So, Drew,
they did on this.
They are beautiful, but the basketball, it just seems to be crazy. I mean, it's not. I don't think there's any bad basketball product this year. I mean, I was looking at 2003 Topps factory sets, and that's got LeBron quickly. That the factory sets were like $200 end of January, and they're going for $600 only a few months. So I think the basketball is super red hot, but this product is combined with being beautiful. I think it's definitely going to be a massive winner here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's like you got, like you said, the basketball market is hot. Basketball collectors, they want their stuff. This is the time when, for basketball at least, this is really right. I always look at right after the football draft, two things happen. People are dying for their new draft picks in football, and then basketball, the hype really picks up. And not having the basketball, you're seeing, how much people want it, how much people need it. And this could have been the case. I don't know if this was the case. It could have been the case of Panini saying Mosaic was going to be online exclusive, but people need things on the shelves and we can get them on the shelves. So, I don't know how exactly this happened, but Mosaic hitting the shelves as a standalone product, a new design. When I opened it up and saw that it was not the exact carbon copy of Prism, I was thrilled. And then as I went through boxes upon boxes upon boxes, I thought, this is actually something that could work. I think they may have found where Mosaic needed to be. And it just kind of shows you that before a product really becomes an it product, so to speak, or a product everyone wants, sometimes it has to go through different iterations. different things evolve. Chronicles being an example. They had to figure out what worked, what didn't, got rid of stuff. And, I think, in my opinion, at least, Panini knocked it out of the park with Mosaic. I think it's a wonderful product, and I'm glad to see it on the shelves instead of online.
So, Chronicles, I think we're supposed to be getting us being NASCAR collectors Chronicles this year. But so you're saying the Mosaic wasn't even on the release calendar, just kind of showed up?
It was not on the release calendar last month.
Okay, so
they added it since then. I don't know. I don't check it daily. I check it for the show every once in a while, but it was not on for the last month. Otherwise, I would have been talking about it on Let It Rip weeks ago.
Right. Okay.
So it was not on the release, at least any release calendar that I could find. And it wasn't on any of Panini's when they put out those emails with their upcoming releases for people. It was not on any of those. And so, it was a surprise to me when I saw it. I was blown away. But I think they did a great job. And it was really nice to see some new wax and some surprising wax on the shelves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking to see if anybody has a checklist. It looks like it caught everybody by surprise.
Yeah, no, it did. It really did. And
cool.
autographs are hard to hit. Autographs are hard to hit. It's more about colors. And, I think this is what you're going to see a lot of this year. And guys, please call in. Let us know what you thought about Mosaic, what you think about the current state of the hobby, or any questions that you have for us. The show is about you. Call in. Come on, join. Let's get 6 people up on this chat, and we'll just have a big discussion about whatever you want. Who cares?
So Drew, you mentioned that right after the draft, there's 2 things, basketball and cards for the draft picks.
Ugh.
So I don't know if you noticed that Panini's running using the Panini Instant and has a set of draft cards out there.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Are they sitting on their couches? Are they like doing this with grandma? Like,
no.
How are we getting these? What's going on here?
So it looks like they're in their college uniforms.
All right.
But I don't know. I think I like the colors. I don't know if it's a prism type, but it shows multiple colors, like some orange and pink and purple on the bottom. So they only have 32 of the draft picks have cards, and then you can either get a whole set for about 130, or you can get the individuals for $10. I'm sure it's cheaper in quantity. And as of right now, there are 9 days, 3 hours left and some change. So it's not something like the first Bowman where you got to get in today and beat the bot. So right. This gives you an opportunity to actually get the product. But to me, I think they look nice.
What's up, Derek? What's up, Uncle Rich? Yeah, Chris, I saw that. That's what we're showing. That's actually how we found it, was a link to one of the cards. And you guys can take a look at them right now. They do almost look like they're going to have a prism finish.
That would be awesome.
I don't see how they're going to keep those color combinations that vivid and that nice on a regular stock. If these were able to be prism, that would be awesome. But I'll give Panini kudos. You stuck in the house all day and you can't get any new photos. Those are some nice designs. They did a good job. And guys, is this where we're headed? Is this? There we go.
I love that they were tweeting these essentially all night. Hey, you just got drafted. Here's maybe a
card
image.
I know. I love it. Panini did a great job with it. They've done a wonderful job under all of this COVID junk and all of this mess.
Absolutely.
Having to deal with all of it. But just looking at these, like the AJ Dillon you've got up, absolutely beautiful. Actually, we're actually going to pull in a 4th person here who I think could probably shed some light on this.
Drew, I was going to say real quick.
Rich Klein.
Hey, how are y'all?
Hey, Rich.
What's up, Val? You were about to say something real quick.
I was going to say that they did a good job where I saw in some of the players' living rooms, they had some Panini stuff in the backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the guy did a great job. His name is David. He runs Panini Instant. And I saw his Facebook post where the people from Panini were saying, wow, what a great job you did getting that stuff up almost immediately. So kudos to Panini for literally doing instant on this.
Yes, it was awesome.
We could have been upset for what they did with expired redemptions, which I still say they did the right thing. Just how they announced it was a little shandak, but in a lot of ways, it's an expired redemption, folks. So let's drop that subject in some ways, other than how they did it. But let's give them credit for doing a great job on the design and the instant and the quickness they got it up. There's a lot to be said for that. So to me, that's the best part of instant, is that they literally did that instantly. And that's pretty darn impressive in my book.
No, they really
did a good job.
They really did. This was the first time I could say, Rich, and I have to 1,000% agree with you. This is the first time that using that word Panini instant always drove me crazy, because there never was anything instant. It was always later on, whatever. I get the idea, but wrong word to choose if you're going to do it. But their draft coverage, honestly, was almost more entertaining than watching the actual draft. Like having the draft on and then Panini on the computer, I'd rather watch what Panini was doing. I thought they did a tremendous job, and they did a very good job of, like you said, getting these cards out instantly and being able to give collectors that are sitting there home at board, probably like a lot of us, screen on with football, computer on social media, cards over here doing something with it. They gave you a great job for that little bit of time in between picks, all that little dead air time that you had to really keep it interesting. I thought Panini did a wonderful job with their coverage of the draft and the draft picks, considering, the circumstances that we're in.
Right. But they also, they do have, I want to say, a same list of maybe 50 people they think can be drafted in the first round. So for the most part, you've got a chance to at least narrow who you think you're going to have photos of. So then it does become a little easier, rather than like in a baseball draft. Sometimes it's good luck just because you don't have all the artwork immediately for a baseball draft. Mm-hmm. And I think this also proved, as a lot of people have written, just how starved we are as a country for seeing sports-related items that are new and live. I mean, the ratings were off the chart. I don't think the NFL draft ever had such a high rating in its life. And when they start running real cars again in NASCAR, you'll see ratings go off the roof on those.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Chris, Jabo has a question. You got some great boxes of Mosaic last night. But Chris, Rich, it kind of falls off of something that you just said about how everyone's, wanting something right now, how people really just want something new. And I mentioned earlier that, Mosaic is out right now, and a lot of people are, on eBay, they're going for $200 a mega box, about 3 times the price. Wow. Now, the ones I was able to get, I was selling for about a third of eBay prices right at retail. But he's asking, what do we think the prices of Mosaic coming out about 3 times the store price? And I'll take it a step further. Do you guys think that this is something that's going to sustain? Do you think Mosaic is something that's going to be one of those products like a Prism and a Optic or a Bowman or something where they stay high? Or is this something where, like Chris Chandler said in the comments, people are just bored and ready for something to get?
I think they're going to stay there because as a NASCAR guy looking in, basketball is so hot, and having done some of the box breaks of Revolution and some of the other stuff, Contenders, they're selling for way over SRP, but and the Mosaic is so beautiful. Maybe it gives Prism and Optic a run.
Well, when Heritage Baseball came out, which is always my favorite product, it came out at my local card store. This was before basically the shutdown occurred. Was basically $100 the first day on the box. And I was looking online. I was going to go get it. I was hoping it'd be $74.25 again. They did, thankfully for me, reduce the price to a more manageable level. I was very grateful for for them taking care of me on that and matching like the lowest online price for the day just to get me one box. And then Mike Fruitman made sure I got the box he gets me every year. So I was very happy that I got a couple to play with. But it's been one of these things where for many reasons, cards are almost a commodity. And Stephan, Ben, your co-partner in the show, Ben, sometimes doesn't understand, even though he may be a brilliant man and he may be going for a PhD in economics or statistics, he doesn't get that there's an enjoyment to something new and exciting. And, there's something he'll chase his ace cards, but there's something new. Hey, what's the new thing coming out? Yeah. And yes, we're bored, but we're also happy that we have something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's entertainment in just in breaking a box, right?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Now, Val, off of what you just said about challenging Prism and Optic, I don't think that's near where Mosaic's going to go. I think these super high retail prices, which is why when I was able to get my hands on some, as a lot of people do know, I do sell and bust boxes for people. I sold them for, a fifth of what they were going for on eBay because I don't think that price is going to last. And I don't like that method of selling to people. So that's probably why I have none left, because everyone bought them because they were so cheap. But as Chris Chandler says right here, those Prism and Optic, they are king. And I agree with them. I agree with him on that Mosaic will never, I don't think, reach that status. But I can easily see the Mosaic cards even being quote unquote a retail product, as those lines have been just as blurred as investing and collector these days, retail and hobby. You got hobby hybrid, you got retail hobby hybrid, you got everything in the world. So quote unquote a retail product, I don't think has the necessarily same stigma as it did a couple of years ago when all you had was gallery and crappy platinum. But I don't think that the values are going to stay that high except for some singles. But like I said earlier, I do think Panini absolutely finally figured out the right thing to do with Mosaic, and that's cut down on the extra 15 Prism parallels and make it its own product using that chromium finish.
But Drew, didn't you also say it was a beautifully designed and beautifully looking
gorgeous? Gorgeous.
Okay. And that's one thing we've discovered in this business over the years, that a beautiful product can sometimes outstrip what you think the market will tell you just because it's so attractive and everybody says, I want to have this.
Exactly.
I used this example when I was taping a podcast with Dr. Beckett. 57 tops will always be better than 58 or 59 tops, even if the players were all the same, because 57 tops is so beautiful. 58 tops finally didn't look good until Heritage did their thing, and 59 tops has such a small player photo. So which of the three sets do you want? How about the beautiful set? So for Mosaic, what are you going to want? The beautiful set, and then on top of everything else, that's probably the reason it's been such a major hit this year.
Nailed it. Could not.
And that's Rich, and that's why I was saying that, because I think as a non-basketball person, these are absolutely beautiful.
Sure.
Yeah.
I might be interested in finding some.
And so as we're talking about this, guys, we're talking about the basketball market quite a bit. And, it's on fire right now. And there's a comment here from Derek Haggard. Apologize if I butcher any of you guys' names. Just going to slap me at the National. But he says that the Jordan documentary he thinks is helping the b-ball market. And I figure, the Jordan documentary is taking the whole world by storm. We postponed Roughing the Passer just because we knew nobody would watch if the Jordan documentary is on. But what do you guys think? What do you think about that? For one, this is a card show. We can talk about whatever. First, what did you think about part 1 and 2 of the Jordan documentary? And do you see this Jordan documentary, do you think it, not for only the people that are already collecting, obviously us diehard collectors, we see that grew up with Jordan, we watch a Jordan documentary, yes, obviously it's going to give us, it's going to want to make us collect basketball a little bit more. But what about for the new people that maybe aren't collecting? Do you think this Jordan documentary, combined with people stuck at home, people getting back into hobbies, do you think that could have a little bit to do with it?
So I absolutely love that one, ESPN pushed up the date just to fill a gap, but
Yeah.
two, as far as the actual question, one, it can't hurt just because it's out there, it's helping push major names, huge hobby legends for basketball. And two, I mean, even at work, we've seen a huge uptick in the amount of Pippen submissions, Jordan submissions. I've even seen Tony Kukoc submissions go up just because they are the Bulls from those teams. And people think that by association, if you buy one, well, maybe I'll buy the team set. Or, for example, Metal Universe. People, I saw a fan of the show, The Other Rich, sell out a huge set just because, in addition to Jordan being in that set, everyone kind of likes the weird designs.
Right.
I think it just reminds everybody, life goes on, and some of us watched basketball during that time, and then others are younger and miss that. But it kind of because watching it was great back then, and then kind of forgot about it. And then I saw the preview in the movie theater actually for it, and I was like, oh wow. And then when I'm watching, I'm thinking, yeah, I remember some of that, and you get to see some of the behind scenes. The fact that they video or captured all that behind the scenes is just incredible, and tie that in with game footage. It's really cool to go back and dissect. In NASCAR, Jeff Gordon and Ray Abraham actually had taped when they went to Daytona 500. They ended up winning that race, but it's just the whole prep work and stuff. It's really cool to see that. I'm curious. I'm looking forward to the other parts.
Okay, there's a couple things. One, in 1999, I believe there was a basketball lockout or strike. I don't remember which one it was.
The lockout.
I remember at Beckett, what we did to fill the time is we actually did like 4 different Michael Jordan covers, since nothing was selling in basketball.
I still have all 4 of those.
Thank you for keeping me employed during those years. And today, I'm going to talk about what we used to call 20-year rule. People come back to the hobby after a 20-year absence, and a lot of times. Whenever I hear Dr. Jim's podcast where he does we'll call it the backstory of all the new collectors, how often do you hear, I gave up the cards, as our local store owner, Nick Redwine, used to say, for cars, cuties, and college. And then you get back 20 years after you gave up collecting, or 15 years, and then, hey, it's cards. I did these growing up. It's fun again. And now I don't have to, and it reminds me of being young. And if I have kids, it's something I can do with my kids. And Jordan is such a transcendent person in sports. He's the equivalent, and I don't want to say this in a bad way. He's Babe Ruth. He is the 90s he is the 90s version of George Sherman Ruth.
Yes.
And as such, having all this information available, even if you know what the ending is going to be, the journey and the journey is almost as much fun to see as the destination. So having the card is the physical attribute and the physical thing of what you're seeing on screen. So it's a perfect storm for really generating interest in these 90s cards as we see.
Now, a quick question kind of to follow up, and I completely agree with you on that. And Chris Chandler, again, man, thanks so much for commenting. Feel free to call in, bud. We'd love to have you call in. But, he mentions that this jump in the 90s values of cards has been overdue in his opinion, and I agree. Even though it's qualified as the quote-unquote junk era, people like Duncan, Shaq, Miller, people like that, Iverson, and a prime example, people whose cards, yes, they had tons of them. Yes, they had lots of them. Go look at pop reports of today's rookies. They got lots of them too. I know there were lots more back then, but the values were so low. For years before, rest in peace, Kobe had passed, I'd been preaching on the show that he was the most underrated, he was the best buy in sports, because everything was so low, because they attributed him to his rookie year stuff to junk era stuff. So when looking at this now, I love seeing the junk era, like the overproduced era, get more love, values go up. But the question I have for this is, now that a bunch of people are being exposed, a bunch of collectors, and I've read this in a bunch of forums, tons of collectors now are saying, wow, I never got to see Jordan play. I'm finally getting to see this stuff. I've only seen highlights. I didn't realize the magnitude of him, didn't realize the magnitude of this. But you're also seeing stuff like Pippen, Rodman, other people that, despite what some particular influencers might tell you on YouTube, they're rising even before that stuff happened. Rich, as someone that's seen the ebb and flow of this hobby for a while, do you think that this documentary coming at the time that it did, where collectors are stuck inside and a lot of people are learning about Jordan in this era, sometimes for the first time, do you think this is something that will not necessarily reinvigorate the whole market in general, but finally give some of these Hall of Fame players that just so happen to be pigeonholed into the overproduced era? Do you think we're going to start to see those values maybe climb and finally sustain somewhere where they should be?
I'm going to start with one of my favorite pieces of hobby trivia. Do you know that unless Beckett raised their price, there is a rookie card, and I'm going to state he's a very minor Hall of Famer, that books at 10 cents as basketball. So Runas Marcelonis, his rookie card is booked at 10 cents. And when I say minor, it's because we know him more from the international than when he was an NBA player, but he is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And his rookie card has been a dime forever. I mean, it's a quarter in the real world, but the point is that that's a perfect example of how undervalued basketball was. You know, one of the things on a historical viewpoint is we've always talked about how undervalued football cards are compared to baseball cards of the 50s and 60s. I know this isn't where you're going.
No, you're fine.
Based on 10% of the print run of baseball in football, and yet the baseball cards are far more expensive than 99% of the football cards. So, as I said, it was a perfect storm. And every comment I'm seeing is pretty much dead on. We're stuck at home. We're looking for things to do. We need collectors. Now we have this awesome documentary culled from hundreds of hours of film. We're seeing the famous people of the 90s. I think I saw that Barack Obama and both President Clinton and President Obama made
Chicago native.
I was about to say, I loved it.
And you know, they have cameos in there. I mean, there's so much in there that we can get as not just fans, but as historians. And hey, 20 years ago, we weren't stuck in our homes, or, you know, like me, I'm fortunate. I'm able to shuttle to and from my office, and I literally see nobody there. And we're able to go back to now it's a happier time. And as I said, for those that are coming back after 20 years, hey, I did this young. The 90s were the peak era of collecting. So let's go back. And also, after the baseball strike, from let's say the period of 94 until the lockout of 99, the kids were still going to the stores, but they weren't going for baseball cards anymore. I was speaking to a lot of store owners in the days. Their biggest in-person sales to kids were basketball cards. So that specific generation was always into basketball.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. Junk Wax Twins, Val, anything to add?
I was just saying that, you know, with the documentary and looking at older wax, I'm amazed to see, because, Drew, I think of that, the hoops and the Fleer from 90 and 89, 90 hoops, you know, as kind of junk wax, and how, you know, they were in the quarter box or whatever. Now, you know, they're $70, $80 a box. So it's awesome, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, boxes are selling because people want to purchase them. I want to rip them. I've seen 1991 Upper Deck fly off the shelves when I used to be able to buy them for $2-3 a box. Yeah. Out of some guy's supply from a case. Now, I would say, you know, don't just buy everything just because it's available. Singles especially. I mean, if you look behind Rich's shoulder, junk wax is in heavy abundance. There's a reason they call it junk. I feel sorry for Angela in a few months here.
Yes,
because that's currently her desk.
I'll give you a little inside thing. At ComC, we have one of our timesheet specifics is organizing office. Well, when Angela and Stephan get released from the stay at home and come back to the office, there'll probably be an 8-hour section called organizing office, which will be absolutely legitimate.
Probably.
Yep, 100%.
But
So,
I just want to say we're blessed. We've had some wonderful donations. I never turn them down.
Absolutely.
But these are all donations for the Adat Havarim show I run, which basically raises money. So we're very blessed to have all these cards.
Absolutely.
That's
well,
awesome.
Tim has a question here, and I was going to save this till the end of the show. So, but we're just going to go on and interrupt since he did have a question. He said, "Great show, fastest hour of the week. Hope you guys start going longer soon. I heard you may." Well, Tim, I don't know what little birdie has been chirping in your ear lately, but I will go on and announce it now instead of at the end of the show. We are going to be extending the length of this show. Not this week, unfortunately, but here in the next couple of weeks, the show will be being extended. A lot more information on that coming soon. But in order to extend that, we want you guys to call in more. So call in with any questions you do have. Angela's watching, Rich, her poor desk. Angela, I feel for you. I do. There's lots of it.
By the way, Stephan, your desk isn't exactly in much better
I'm sure
shape.
it's not.
No, that's why his camera is angled up. He doesn't want you to
Right.
see the desk, But all right. So, quick question here, real quick. A little bit off of the sports card topic, but sports related. But Chris Leroy, who runs an excellent group on Facebook, asked, "What % do you guys think that baseball has to start this year? Are we going to have a baseball season this year at all? Do you guys think?"
I mean, maybe on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
But
So that's what you're doing during the show.
of course. No, I would love to see it happen. I don't like some of the ideas that are being tossed around, only playing in this city or that city, or only playing to these facilities, or a complete realignment of the divisions. I hope that we do 75-25.
Yeah.
Optimistic, maybe.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm kind of in that camp of same thing you just said. If we're gonna have it, please don't change everything up. And if you do, don't change it up for just a year, because then you got a million asterisks to deal with. Don't realign divisions. Don't do all this and then say, "Oh, next year we're going to the AL East." You can't. There's tradition bound in this. There's lots of contracts and stuff bound in this that have nothing to do with anything of our opinions and what we want. But as far as it actually happening, if it does happen, at least in my opinion, the only way I could see it happening would probably be in those situations that we don't want, where they are isolated in one place.
Well, and in particular, tradition baseball more than any other. And I think that a good jump off, one for Rich, but two, for the sport would be to look to 1981.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yes.
One thing that I will almost guarantee is that the contraction, which was such a contentious issue for minor league teams about 6 months ago, will occur. I mean, basically, minor league baseball has already said we will contract. They're still going to work out the details, but that's pretty much a fait accompli now. Now it's just a matter of sorting out the details. And where I live in Dallas, the Frisco Rough Riders, because they're so close to the Texas Rangers, I guarantee you they will still exist. But a lot of teams may not. And I think I agree with everybody, except I'm more of the camp that it's 50-50. We are certainly not, unless we come up with some miracle vaccine or miracle cure, and I'm not talking about Lysol at this point, that we are not going to have fans in the stands. And we're going to have very controlled situations. And, it to me, when I was thinking about this, it reminds me I remember watching senior league baseball games where maybe 500 people were attending, or the Arizona Fall League baseball games, which are really fun to watch, where you see the great players of tomorrow. But then you look in the stands and nobody's there. And there's something missing in all sports when you don't have the fans there. And you can't replicate or, get that. And that to me means that even if we have a partial season, and 81's a good example, it's still going to be not the same because nobody's going to be physically watching the games.
Right.
And that's going to be a major drawback for all sports. And and the players at that level who are used to having the fans in the stands, it's going to be a hard adjustment just playing like it's a pickup game.
Unless you're a Marlins fan. We've been used to it for like decades.
Or
decades.
And we're
Tampa Bay. Right.
For NASCAR.
Yeah, shoot, Marlin fans have been used to have social distancing. I think they've had that social distancing order in place for about 20 years now. But yeah, I agree with you, Rich. I think that's probably where it's at and what's going to happen, and it's going to be interesting. That's for sure. I really don't know what's going to happen at all. It's interesting, but beyond baseball, I guess like Chandler said, he's got Bucks season tickets. Chandler, I got my Panther season tickets. Heck, I just got charged for Charlotte Hornet tickets for next year. They haven't finished this season, and they charged for my season tickets already. So, wow. I mean, I think everywhere there's still a lot of stuff up in the air, a lot of logistics stuff to figure out, and probably a lot of stuff that goes into this that we have no idea about when it comes to contracts and stuff. But one question before we wrap everything up, guys, it kind of goes with all this. Do you think, let's say baseball, all right, let's say basketball doesn't finish their season. Let's say football has to postpone, baseball has to postpone, or something's different. Do you see collectors? Do you see the hobby? Do you see this is something where people start to leave when these things get canceled? Do you think the hype and the massive peak we're at now, could you see it dropping with all of this stuff starting to be canceled?
So I would think that it would be minimal, only because it's not the players that are having a lockout. It's not the teams not coming to agreement. Right. It's not anything that's the sport itself causing us not to be able to play. Right. Minimal, sure. Some people are going to drop out, but I see the hardcore dedicated fans coming back to collect once everything's available. I mean, it's no different than right now where everyone's looking for something to open, just that, on the sports term. Yeah. They're looking for a hockey game. They're looking for the championship game. They're looking for this or that.
We touched on this in the 90s when we were talking about the Jordan documentary, but for the people, and the reason Junk Wax, I want to say, is making, not just for that, is making a comeback, is that their careers are completed.
Sure.
And if your career is completed and you were in the Junk Wax era, we know what you've done. We know, what Ken Griffey Jr. was. Ken Griffey Jr. may be the last ubiquitous baseball player, even more than Mike Trout, should have been and is not. But we're going to go back to that time. And so it's a great time to actually be buying the overproduced, the junk wax, whatever term you want to use instead of junk era, that it's really fun to see that interest increase. And even for racing was at its peak in the 90s. I remember going to racing. I actually, when I was at Beckett, I did show trips, and once a year I'd go to a cool racing show in upstate New York, a really nice show. They had 125 tables of cards and die cast and things, and
Val would be in heaven.
Yeah, it was an amazing show. It was really a cool show. I wish I had saved, they're sitting somewhere at the Beckett headquarters. I wish I had my show report from that to talk about how much fun those shows were, because people weren't chasing cards and die-casts really for money at those shows. They were buying, most of the people attending were just pure collectors. It was usually the weekend of Watkins Glen in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I think like in racing, we only have about 4 releases a year, and I always say that between releases, you can actually focus on other stuff. Mm-hmm. So to Rich's point, this is a great time to fill in those collections or look at other stuff. So,
and what you just said with those 4 releases, if they do end up having to cut some releases, and maybe so many products don't come out this year for football, baseball, basketball. If there is altering and, the big three and stuff, I think collectors initially will probably get upset because some of them will be some of their favorite products. But then I think they're going to look back at it a year later and realize what you just said. I can focus on things more. I can narrow my focus. I can focus on, building this set, looking deeper into this set, focusing on other things instead of, awesome, I just got this case in. Oh, wait, next week there's 8 new releases. Awesome. Let me hurry up and go through this so I can go through these 8. Like, it couldn't be a good thing in the end. Obviously, people are having some issues up front. But as we say, I think just about every week on this show since the COVID and all this stuff has happened, there's so much up in the air right now. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what exactly does end up happening.
Definitely.
And one more question before we wrap up the show today. Mike Frank asks, what are your guys' thoughts on buying PSA 9 cards, busting them and sending them to try and get regraded at a higher grade? So you're basically asking, looking at PSA 9, seeing if they shouldn't be graded a 9 and thinking you can grade them higher elsewhere.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's
Big
a gamble.
Because not every 9 is a 9. Not every 9 will bump to a 10. So I'm familiar with PSA grading and stuff like that. And it can be done. And but odds against you.
Yeah, my advice would be do not buy every single one thinking that. Do not buy them with any way, shape, or form thinking this one is definitely going to this, unless you have multiple 10s sitting right next to you and you can compare and see that it shouldn't be a 9, then maybe take that chance. But all in all, man, till there's a computer program that you're sending it into and R2-D2 spitting out an actual, printout of what's wrong with it and the human elements involved, that 9 could go to an 8, that 9 could go to a 10, that 9 could go to a 15 if he hits the wrong key on the computer. You just don't know until, a computer actually.
Another thing, too, is to go from a 9 from PSA and go to Beckett to 9.5.
Sure.
And PSA, to their credit, has also made the holders much harder to get the cards out of.
Yes.
And
yes, and you risk damage. Yes, you 100% risk damage.
It used. I remember when we started at Beckett, and I went to a Willow Grove show. I think it was Fort Washington at the time, and we had just started grading, and I had the Dave Kingman example, 85 tops, and I was talking to my friend Levi Bleem, and Levi's a big PSA dealer, and he says, "You want to see the biggest problem with PSA holders?" Within 15 seconds, he had the card out of the holder. Yeah, they were that easy to take the cards out in those days.
Oh yeah.
And so it wasn't hard to do a really good job of taking the cards out and putting them back in with simple screws. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, sending them in, but it causes all sorts of issues. Plus, it causes on top of it, unless you alert PSA, you took the card out of the holder, the registry is going to be wrong too. The registry can be all goofed up. If it's a big population card like 89 Upper Deck Griffey, take one card out and put, doesn't really much matter. But if it's a lower pop card, then it's a bigger issue taking the 9 out.
Now, you can give PSA those flips, and I've done that before, and it helped clean up the pop report, but you're correct.
Yep. All right, y'all. Well, that would be our biggest advice. And like Christopher Chandler said, he buys 9s for his PC almost daily. My collection right here, all graded cards, Soto 9, Torres 9, KD 9. I love 9s. I love the value in them. I think for someone that doesn't want to pay a couple of grand for a card when you can get a 9 for $150, it's a great way to add a very nice card in your collection. And let's be honest, PSA 9s in this instance are excellent cards. They're still graded well. I think it's a great way to go about them. And to me personally, I have no issue whatsoever with 9s. But all I can say, if you're planning on cracking and then resubbing, be very careful because you can damage the card. Lots of places will resub for you and take a lot more care of that case. So I know you might not want them to know that grade it had before, possibly, but you risk a lot by trying to crack those cases, as evidenced by and wear goggles, because I've been hit in the face multiple times with pieces of PSA slabs as someone tries to cut.
Yeah, you need
out.
safety goggles.
So wear
and
goggles.
10 snips and safety goggles. When I see Vintage Brakes open up the packs, they got the 10 snips out there and the goggles, so that wrap around.
And, well, Drew does a lot for Vintage Brakes. He probably knows that firsthand better than any of us.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of nines, just because, in all honesty, as we've mentioned, cards are much better protected when they're in a holder.
Yep.
They can, there's less susceptibility to human damage. If I take one of these cards that is a donation and I screw it up, it's no big deal. If I took a card out and instead of having it graded, it was part of my collection, and I accidentally creased it or bent it and putting it in some holder, I just really screwed it up, and I may have screwed myself out of hundreds of dollars in some cases. Yeah. So having it already in the holder is a big help just for your peace of mind.
Sure.
Exactly.
And I was going to hit on what 3B said with the sell 10s and buy 9s. And to Rich's point, especially if you're carrying and lugging out 10 boxes and one happens to hit the deck outside of a hotel, not that that's ever happened, Rich. It's definitely the holders protect them better than a single sleeve or a top loader can.
Yeah, a 9 is a beautiful card. It's still mint. Centering is still there. I haven't heard that before, but I like that. Right, sell your 10s, keep the 9s. So, and 9 gives you, everybody's after the 10, driving those up, and I think you get maybe a better deal for 9. And again, it's a mint card. Cards coming out of packs, and Rich, you can probably say, there are probably 7 8s maybe. So
I think in the 90s we used to say, when we were starting Beckett grading, and Jim would meet with us about in the price guide area, I think we agreed that the average condition in those days of a card coming out of a pack was 8.5.
Yeah.
And I like Mike's follow-up question, but I think that might be worthy of, since that's a long discussion, that may be something worthy of next week. Bring that back next week.
I missed that question. What was it?
Yeah, Mike, we will touch on that. I'll actually write that down and screenshot that to talk next week, as one of the reasons we aren't able to go super, super long yet is because my babysitting hours have not been extended yet. So Jude's got to take over soon. But
I think something else is going on at noon today. So the draft.
Oh yeah, forgot. Yeah. I thought you meant sports. I was like, no. But anyway, guys, if you missed the announcement, we are going to be extending Hobby Hotline. It is going to be longer than an hour. We'll be announcing that here probably this week. We'll get together and go over everything and announce when that starts. In a couple of weeks, we have a very special guest joining the show. As always, it's a pleasure when Mr. Rich Klein joins the show. And quick thing I just wanted to say real fast before we go, guys. I myself wanted to dedicate this show to Stu Payne, my former co-host from Let Me Get That Potograph, who unfortunately lost his battle to cancer a year ago yesterday. So been in my thoughts every day, buddy. And this show was something we talked about doing for a long time. So I know you're smiling down happy on it, but I want to dedicate this show to Mr. Stu Payne. And if you missed Dr. Beckett and mine's tribute to Stu, please go check it out. But anything you guys would like to add before we wrap up?
No, thank you guys. High five to everybody. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for letting me call in. It's always a blast to chat with y'all.
Hey, Rich, it's always a blast when we get to add you in. Y'all have a happy week.
I was going to say, and don't forget, everybody else call in next week.
Yes. Yes, this screen is not full. You might see 4. I got room for 2 more. Call in.
Yeah.
But till next week, guys, we'll see you later. Have a good one.
Perfect.